Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Wooden Railway Adventures, Episode 202, Cabless Companions. Samson is a friendly tank engine who lives on the mainland but is often seen working on the island of Sodor. He's a very strong engine that can pull long lines of cars, but this also makes him boastful from time to time. "Step aside, Stephen," he shouted one day. "I'll give these passengers a worthy ride for once. Just attach the coaches to the back of my train and I'll do twice the work in half the time." "Would you get moving already?" asked Stephen. "I've told you, Samson, the passengers like it when I go slow around the castle grounds. Not everyone is as fast-paced as you are." Just then, the sun disappeared behind the clouds and thunder could be heard in the distance. "Uh-oh," whispered Samson. "Never mind, I've got to go." Since he didn't have a cab, every time there was bad weather, Samson was forced to go rest somewhere that was covered, so that his crew wouldn't get wet. "This should pass by in a few minutes," he said hopefully. But the rain didn't stop. Fresh off a long heat wave, the weather had turned humid and it poured for days on end. Samson was feeling rather sad after a while. "I know I look splendid without a cab, but this is the terrible drawback," he said to himself. "Show a wheel, Samson," whistled Caitlin. "Why haven't you been fetching my coaches lately?" "This weather, it's not good for my paint and parts and things," he stammered. "That's a lousy excuse. It's time you had a cab built so that you can work all the time. What are you going to do when it starts snowing in the winter?" Samson didn't know what he was going to do, and he didn't plan on finding out. At last, the rain finally stopped, and Samson was able to venture outside again. Across the castle grounds, he could see another engine moving from a shed as well. "I wonder if he's been stuck there during the rain too," wondered Samson, and he quickly made his way over to where Fergus was resting. "Hello there. Seems like you're a cabless engine too." "I beg your pardon," stammered Fergus. "Who are you again?" "Oh, of course. I am Samson. I work here at the castle." "Yes, I've seen you around," agreed Fergus. "Sorry to be so abrupt, but I've been stuck in this shed for a few days because of the rain, and I must go catch up on my work." "I'm in the same predicament," exclaimed Samson. "I can't work when the weather's bad because I don't have a cab, just like you." Fergus smiled. "Oh, I see why you came over here," he said. "It's tough being a cabless engine. Wouldn't you agree?" "Isn't that the truth? Nobody understands our hardships. We have to overcome many more obstacles than any other engine out there. But they just label us as lazy." "You don't say. I've had the same experiences too. I think it's time we tried to change the stigma about cabless engines. Don't you think?" "I would be all for it," said Samson proudly. "First things first, we have to find all of the other cabless engines on the railway so that we can start an organization, a support group, if you will." The two engines quickly set about searching around the island for more cabless engines. "Well, aren't you a peculiar engine? But what are you doing in the field over there? Did you run off the rails? I'll go get the breakdown train." "No, I haven't crashed," laughed Trevor. "I'm a traction engine. I don't run on rails like you do." "Oh," said Samson sadly. "You look just like my friend Fergus, with no cab and all. My mistake. I guess I'll go check on the mainland now." And Samson puffed away. Elsewhere, Fergus was beginning his search as well. "What are you doing here, Fergus?" asked Ben. "We're blasting today, and so you need to leave. We don't want you or your driver to get hit by falling rock." "But that's precisely why I'm here," exclaimed Fergus. "I'm looking for more engines without cabs. You haven't seen any, have you?" "I'm looking at one right now and another one in the making," shouted Timothy. "If you don't move, Ben, you're going to get squashed by falling debris." Sorry, I don't know anyone else, said Ben hastily, and he quickly puffed away. Bother, moaned Fergus. I guess I wasn't super helpful today. Hopefully Samson has recruited some more engines. But when Fergus arrived back at the castle that night, Samson was nowhere to be seen. I wonder where he could be on such a lovely evening. Uh-oh, are those dark clouds on the horizon? Is it going to rain again? What do you think, Stephen? I don't think so, Fergus, he replied. I think we're all rained out for the summer, and thank goodness, too. I was getting tired of sleeping inside. Just then, it occurred to Fergus. Well, of course, he gasped. Stephen, you're a cabless engine, too. Come and join our group. Wait, what's this all about? You are part of a cabless engine organization? What type of nonsense is that? It's not nonsense. It's a very smart idea. Samson and I are going to spread awareness about cabless engines and how we sometimes need to be treated differently because, well, we don't have cabs and such. Suddenly, Stephen burst out laughing. Ha ha, he chuckled. That is quite the plan you have there, but I'm sorry to say that it's quite silly. Just because you can't go outside when it rains doesn't mean you deserve special perks. You'll learn to get over it sooner or later. But what about you? Protested Fergus. You don't like the rain. I've sat through many a rainstorm in my lifetime, said Stephen sternly. After all these years, don't you think I've earned some pleasantries? Fergus couldn't help but agree. The next day he went searching for Samson when he spotted him in the yard, alongside a couple of engines he had never seen before. What's going on, Samson? Are these your friends? Glad you couldn't make it, Fergus, he exclaimed. Welcome to the first meeting of the Cabless Engine Committee. Our goal is to help spread awareness about cabless engines on the mainland and on Sodor. Oh, that's what this is about? Asked one of the engines. I don't have time for this. You said this was going to be quick. Winston, don't leave just yet, protested Samson. Fergus and I have a lot of good ideas. Just hear us out. Actually, I think your friend Winston is right, admitted Fergus. This was a nice idea back when it wouldn't stop raining for days on end, but I don't think we're going to gain much traction. I talked to Stephen about this, and he didn't think it was a very smart idea. Just then, Sir Topham Hatt walked up. What's with all the noise? He asked. I was working in my office, and I heard... Samson? Fergus? Who are these two engines here? Well, technically, I'm not an engine, said Winston. I'm a track inspection vehicle from the mainland. And this is... Actually, I don't know your name, said Samson. Who are you? My name's Neil, replied the old engine. I used to work here a long time ago. When you pulled me out of that siding and said we were going to Sodor, I couldn't refuse. It's been years since I've run these rails. Sir Topham Hatt was astonished. I know exactly who this engine is, he exclaimed. We must get him to the steamworks at once for immediate repairs. Oh, how about you, Winston? Would you mind taking me to the steamworks right now? I guess I can, said Winston. I don't really have anything else to do. Excellent. Follow us, Neil. We're going to get you repaired. And the two engines rolled slowly away. Well, it looks like we did end up doing some good, said Fergus. Granted, our cabless engine club was doomed from the start, but you found an old engine that needs repairs, and Sir Topham Hatt now has a private track inspection vehicle. Sounds like a pretty solid outcome for the first and only day of the Cabless Engine Committee. You're absolutely right, agreed Samson. Just look what two cabless companions can do when they put their minds to something. Now let's go under the canopies over there in case it starts to rain. And Fergus and Samson proudly puffed away, thrilled to have been able to do some good in a short amount of time.